So, hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. And today we are going to do the next question in our series of top enter 150 questions. And the question for today is going to be insert, delete, get random, big of 1. Now, let's understand this question. So, the question states that we have to implement a randomized set class, and this class is going to have some functions, and the first function is randomize set. It is going to initialize our randomized set objects, so it is for initialization. Next function is going to be bool insert int val, and this is for inserting the value. And what it is going to do is it is first going to check if the value is not present in our set, then we have to insert the value and we have to return true because it is success. And if the value is already present, then we cannot insert, so we have to return false. Now the next function is going to be bool remove, and what is going to do, it is going to also check first that if the value is present, then we have to remove the value and return true, basically implementing that we have successfully done our function. And if it is not present, that means we cannot remove, then we have to remove, return false. And the last function is get random, and this get random function is going to return a random value from our set of the numbers which is present at that time of instance. So the probability of getting any number is equal for every number, and we have to implement this all these functions in average big of one time complexity. So that's why you can see that the function name, question name is insert, delete, get random big of 1. Now let's understand the example and see how it is been done. So now let's understand by using visualization. So now let's understand there is a set. It is firstly empty set, and the first input you can see that we have used randomize set. So what is going to do, it is going to call randomize set, which is for initialization, and we do not need to initialize it, so we return it already, it's automatically returned null, it has no value with it. Now the next function it has called is insert. So when it calls insert with value 1, so it is going to check if the value 1 is present or not. So you can see that the value 1 is not present because our set is empty. So we have to insert 1 in our set and we have to return true. So you can see that the true is returned. Okay. Now the next is function is going to be remove. So in remove, what is going to happen? We have to first check if the value is present, then we have can remove. So the value which we have to remove is 2, and you can see that the value is 1. That means the value is not present. So we have to return false. Now the next question is insert. So in insert we have to insert value and the value is given to be 2. So you can see that if the value is present, then we cannot insert because there is no duplicate allowed because it is a set. Now next you can see that the value is not present, so we have to insert 2. So we are going to insert 2 in our set, and if we insert successfully, then we are going to return true. So it is a return true. Now the next function is get random. And what is get random? It is going to return the random number between whatever present in our set. So you can see that the values are 1 and 2, so any one is going to return. So here 2 is returned. Okay, now the next function is remove. So in remove, having a value 1, so we have to remove 1. So we are going to check if 1 is present or not. So you can see that 1 is present, so we are going to remove it. So we have remove this from here, and you can assume that our set is going to start from here. So we removed it, and if we remove successfully, then we return true. So here true is returned. Okay, now let's take what we have already win. So we have 2 in our set because one is removed previously. Now the next function is insert. So it is going to insert 2. So what we have to do, we have to check if the value is present or not. You can see that 2 is present, so it cannot insert value, so it has returned false. Now the next is our get random. So we have only one value which is 2, so 2 will be returned, so 2 is returned. Okay, now let understand the approaches what we are going to follow, and let understand the algorithm which we are going to build and how we are going to think about it. So here is the algorithm, which how we are going to think. So we are first going to take a hash map, which is going to be our set, and we are going to take a dynamic array, which is going to help in our showing the positions for the hash map, or you can say key value pair, which is going to have to store key value pairs. So we are going to first initialize these two, and let's assume the first case, and in here we have to insert. So let's assume we are going to insert 5 in this vacant hash map and dynamic array. So what we are going to do, we are going to first insert 5 in the dynamic array, and we are going to insert then 5 in the hash map, and the value is going to be equals to the position which is being stored in the dynamic array. So 5 is stored at the first position, so its index is 0, so 0 is here inserted with 5. Now let's understand the next case, and we are going to insert an existing element. So we have already inserted 5. Let's try to insert 5. What happens? So we have to first check if the value is present or not in our hash map. So if the value is present, then we have to return false. So if when we check that the value is present, then we return false. We do not need to do anything. So the visual represents the same. Now the next condition is going to be new element. So in here what we are going to do, we are going to insert a new element, and we already have 5 in our hash map and dynamic array. So when we try to insert 10, so we are going to follow the same approach. We are going to first insert into dynamic array, and we are going to insert the 10 in the hash map with the position it has been stored in the dynamic array. So the position is going to be 1, so we have stored 1 with it. Now let's move to the next, which is deletion, and here we are going to delete an existing element. So what we are going to do is we are going to first store the value for the index or in the hash map. So we are going to first find the index of the element which we have to delete using hash map, which can be find by big O of 1. So let's assume we have find our index to be, let take it as I equals to 0. We are going to delete 5. So from this what we have done is that we have positioned the value in the dynamic array. So we got the value I equal to 0. So after this, to delete from the dynamic array, we are going to swap the value at the position I with the value at the topmost position. So the value at the topmost position in dynamic array is 10. So we are going to store, let's assume we are going to take value is equal to value at the topmost position, which is we came to be 10. So what we are going to do, we are going to swap these values. So for this, we simply let's assume that our array is going to be A. So in our array at position I, we are going to put the value val. So what we have done is that we have changed the value at the 5 equals to 10. So our dynamic array is now to it is going to be 10 10. Now after this, we delete the value at the topmost position, and if we have successfully deleted the value 5 from the dynamic array by this approach. Now one thing we are also considering here, we have to change the value in the hash map for the 10, because the 10 is moved from the last position to the position I. So simply what we do, so if our hash map is H, so for H val we take I. So our hash map is now going to look as 50 and 10 0. After this, what we do, we delete this. So finally, we left with 10 0. So you can see this is done at the last. So we came up with the value hash map with 10 0 and dynamic array 10. So that's how we are going to delete the element from the hash map and dynamic array, and after this we return true. Now the next is going to, we have decided to delete a non-existing element. So when we decide to delete a non-existing element, so we first check and we see that it is not present, then we simply return false, and there is nothing changes is going to become. Now in the random selection, we are going to use the rand function, and we return the random values from the dynamic array. So this is the whole conditions and different approach, different scenarios in which we have to think. Now let's start code this and understand. So let's start coding. So let's take the private. Let's initialize our data structures. So the first is unordered map, int comma int, and it is m. Now the next is vector, int b. Now we have to use the first function is randomize set. So we do not need to initialize our data structure. So we skip it and move to insert part. So in the insert and remove, the first thing you notice that we have to first check that it is present or not. So we are going to use if m dot find val is equals to m dot end. So if it is goes to the last position, that means it is not present. So if it is not present, then we can insert the value. So for this, what we are going to do, we are going to first insert in our vector v dot spec val, and for the our unordered map, what we have decided to insert the value val, and the value is going to be equals to the index which is it been stored in the vector. So it is going to be v dot size minus 1. Now we have to return true because it is successfully inserted. Now let's move to the else part. So in else part, what we have to do, we have to simply return false. Now we have completed the insert function. Now let's move to remove function. So similarly, we have to do f part. We have to check if the value is present or not. So if we check if the value is not present, then we can return false because the value is not present. What we are going to return false. Now let's assume the value is present. Else part. So if the value is present, so we have discussed the approach. So we are going to use the same approach. First, we have decided to take the index. So let's take the index I and as index is equals to value presented m val. So it is going to give the index. Now next, let's take the value, and this is the value at the of the topmost position of the vector. So we are going to take v dot back. It is going to give the value at the topmost position of the vector. So next is going to be what we have to decided. We have decided to swap the topmost element. So we are going to do the same. So we are going to do v index is equals to val. So we have equals to val. So what we have done, we have so we have changed the value present at v index is equals to val, which is the topmost element in the vector. So we have successfully removed our value val uh, from the v vector. Now we can pop v dot pop back. So it is going to remove the topmost element, which is going to be duplicate one. So our v is final. We have successfully deleted. Now what we have to do, we have to also make changes in the unordered map as we have discussed. We have to change the value stored for the value is equals to index, because the previously value is at the different index. Now we have changed it, so we have to do so. Now next we have to delete from the delete val from the m. So we are going to do m dot erase val. So it is going to delete. Now the last function which we have left with is get random. Now let's complete this. So we are going to take, let's take int x is equals to, let's call rand function, and we are going to do mod v dot size, and we are going to return v x. So it is going to return a random value. So the code is complete. Now let's try to run this code. Okay, so we forgot to return it. So we do return. Okay, we have to. I think, okay, we have not returned it. Let me go. So it is successfully accepted. Now let's try to submit it. So it is successfully submitted. Now this is the question for today. Thank you all.